Kimungo Kumbozi. Kimungo Kumbozi. Kimungo Kumbozi. Kimungo Ukumbozi. That means divine liberty, divine liberation, divine freedom, and all that that will bring for African people wherever we happen to be on the face of this earth. Karibu, welcome. This is the Universal Royal African Nation, and indeed this is a special occasion because this is the premiere or first time any of the URAN gatherings or activities have been transmitted or communicated, shared via live stream. So welcome ones and ones who may be listening, may be joining in, may be wanting to partake of the celebration with us on this very special day of Imani. Imani means faith, and it is the seventh of 7 principles known as the Nguza Saba, 7 principles that are with us all year round, 7 principles that are at the core of what is the Kwanzaa celebration. Kwanzaa, a very important celebration that we are now at the concluding day of. This is day 7. Each of the 7 days reflects one of each of those 7 principles. The first day is Umoja, which means unity. The second day is Kujichagulia, which means self-determination. The third day is Ujima, collective work and responsibility. The fourth day is Ujama, cooperative economics. The 5th day is Nia, 6th, which is purpose. The 6th day is Kuumba, which means creativity. And this, the final day, the day of Imani, the day of faith. So welcome again, Karibu. And the subject or the theme of this particular gathering is the hero reading, and I'm blowing out the candles. You can see our candles have been lit already. We did that already, and I'm just going to replenish those because I want them to stand as we go through what it is that we are about to engage in. So do bear with me. We have actually gone through already our candlelighting ritual proper, but as the candles have outed with the breath of talk, breath of speak, and this is not the order that they ought to be lit in. It's just that they have, or 3 of them anyway, have been outed prematurely by myself. Only by circumstance of breathing. And I will continue to breathe. So if they do, here we go again. If they do go out, I will continue to light them. I want them to be burning, but I'll try my best not to breathe over them so that they stay lit. And before we go any further, I'd just like to give thanks to the young ones that are present that brought the session to focus rhythmically so with the vibrations of the drum. So I want to give those special young ones a big hand and a big thank you for their energy and their vibrational spirit that warms us, that energizes us, that enlivens us and keeps traction in the upward and ever ascending motion. Yeah! So give thanks to the young ones that are here doing that. Very important and very special. They are indeed. Faith. That is the principle of the day. That is the principle of this day. And those who are familiar with the Kwanzaa celebration, when we greet each other during the observance period, and we greet each other with the greeting question, Habari gani? It means, what's the news? And the response to that is the principle of the day, the respective principle of the day. So on the first day of Kwanzaa, when you are greeted with the question, Habari gani? What's the news? What's happening? The response is the principle of the day, umoja. And likewise then for day 2, Habari gani? And the response on day 2 is kujichagulia. The response on day 3 is ujima, and so on and so forth on through to today. So the response for the question Habari gani on this day is Imani. So I will ask that of you, and you can answer if you will. Habari gani?
Imani.
Habari gani?
Imani.
Habari gani?
Imani.
And that's wonderful that we're able to keep ourselves rejuvenated and revitalized, energized, and uplifted during the entire period, as we must be able to keep up with each of the days and know which day we're articulating the response in the order of. So the day today is Imani, faith, and it means something very special. Normally, there'd be a wider gathering for members and supporters of the Universal Royal African Nation on this day. But because of the restrictions in this so-called lockdown period, things are not quite as they have been. So we are sharing the experience, or at least part of it, with ones that are able to join us and become part of the sharing and the vibrant engagement, the vibrant interconnectedness, the vibrant oneness that we have, each African to the next. And yes, we are indeed an African people. The meaning of Imani, faith, is to believe with all our heart in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our fight. To believe with all our heart in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our fight. It's a special principle, and it's an appropriate concluding principle, or a culminating principle, that is positioned not by happenstance, not by accident, but purposely on this day, on the concluding day. Because amongst other things, it highlights our specific roles, responsibilities, and duties that we have with each other. roles that have been articulated, and it's not exhausted. There are plenty of other roles that we must have amongst ourselves. But it gives a important sample set. Parent, teacher, leader, and the implication of fighting for freedom and nationhood, specifically African freedom and African nationhood. Not anyone else, not any other cause, but the cause of our own beingness. To be free, to be continually ascending and eternally victorious. Imani, faith. If we are going to be a people, then make manifest ourselves in full and optimal functionality as an African people. If we are going to be parents, and we ought to be, then let us be progressive, wholesome African parents. And I'm qualifying each of these because it is so important. If we are going to be teachers, let us be progressive African teachers, and we ought to be teachers in whatever sphere, formally or otherwise, at home or elsewhere. This is important. This is important to note. This is important to lodge within the crevices of the mind's eye so that it can be there for instant recall and manifest in the substance of our expressions throughout our lives. Very, very important. And the candle's gone out again. So I'm going to relight it. Remember, this is not the order of lighting. There is a specific order to follow. It's just that that candle has gone out by me exhaling on it. So this day is important. This principle is important. We've got our progressive African people, African peoplehood, progressive African parents, progressive African teachers, progressive African leaders. Very, very important. And we must be responsible for ourselves to lead ourselves and not continually be misled by others that mean us ill, which they incessantly try to do. Yes, they do. This is faith. And the ultimate faith, as Africans have known since the very beginning, that Africans have known since time immemorial, that Africans have known since the earliest of times. The ultimate faith is the faith that African people have in the Creator Supreme, the Supreme Being. the ultimate divine, the orchestrator of the sacred universe. That's ultimate faith. And that has been with the African from the very beginning, before the happening of any other people. And will continue to be with the African as long as the African is the African, as long as the African is the African man, as long as the African is the African woman, as long as the African is the African child. We must know this. Living knowingness of this we must have. Not just the intellectual processing, the conceptual imagery that is part of our cognizance, not just that, but living knowingness, in that it is fabric of our lives. This is also important. Or should I say, by way of some background, for those that don't know, and it's important I share this. And the candle's done out again. I am trying to. We've got a fairly confined space for this particular coming together. So we're making the best of what we can utilize given the time, space, and condition that we currently find ourselves in. But it's important that I share this with you. And the sharing of this organ, the Universal Royal African Nation, it was established in the year 2013. That was when it was established. And it was formally launched in the community the following year, 2014. So it's been with us from then until now. And it's something that the souls that have been a part of it are a part of it, that do support it, are proud of, are inspired by, and other important qualities that come with being a part of or being associated with this important organ. I'm its principal and founding member. And with that comes the origination of what it means, but not origination in any absolute sense. It's only really creative restoration and synthesis. That's what's at the heart of it. It has a Garveyite core with some core Garvey principles at its foundation, together with the mission compelling attributes of its spiritual and cultural fabric, and progressive transformation. And it has remained that way since its inception and will continue to remain that way as an important organ of ascension for African liberty and African nationhood. It has a calendar, a cultural observance calendar that charts seasons of spiritual and cultural engagement, development, upliftment, energizing, enlivenment in that cyclical annual cycle, ever spiraling upward year on year for the African to continually rise. There are 10 observances throughout the annual cycle within this arena, of which Kwanzaa is one of them. And if you would like to see what those look like, at least in summary form, then please do visit the website at www.u-ran.org. 10 observances, each harmonizing in complementarity and interconnectedness with the other, to create a oneness of flow throughout the entire annual cycle of living. And then Kwanzaa becomes very special in the sense that it is the yield that is celebrated of all that annual cycle effort coming to grand fruition, celebrating the harvest of all year round effort, all year round growth, all year round cultivation, all year round upliftment, all year round organizing and missioning for the betterment of African souls. That's what it does. And we must have faith in ourselves to do that. And that's something very special, certainly for us within the Universal Royal African Nation, for the supporters of the Universal Royal African Nation and the African community and world at large. Powerful principle, a mighty principle, befitting of a naturally mighty people. So with that, I'd like to share, and hence the title, just a portion of a reading of a great hero of the African world. And we have many. We are not short of heroes. And when I say hero, it's hero and shero. We are not short of either. We never have been. We are the primary people of creation, the first to be birthed directly and intimately so with the Creator Supreme. And that intimacy is grand inheritance that every single African soul has. That's never been lost. We still carry that grand inheritance to claim. We've journeyed longer than any other people on the planet and have more superlative, genius-filled, courageous, brave, outstanding heroes of excellence, sheroes of excellence than any other. So I just want to highlight a few words from one such example, just one. And this is, or I should say, these are words from the Emperor Jean-Jacques Dessalines. Now, who is this person? And why is this person important? Indeed, why is it relevant on the day of Imani? Why is it relevant for faith? Well, for those that don't know, Jean-Jacques Dessalines is the leader that brought the Haitian Revolution to victorious fruition. This is a powerful revolution that took place in the late 1700s and early 1800s, given this current calendar that we happen to be afflicted with in this time. And Jean-Jacques Dessalines, uncompromising warrior, uncompromising freedom fighter, led African souls to victory on that island, and as a profound and magnificent example for the entire African world, diaspora and otherwise. Oh yes, Africans in the diaspora have an impact, a tremendous impact, a tremendous role to play in the African world. As do African souls on the continent itself. So on this day, in the year 1804, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, at his national headquarters of victory, raised aloft the flag of independence, fought and won. Defeated the French and other European forces who were considered the unstoppable military forces of the world at the time. And for many souls, that's still the view we have now. So we have no excuse not to be free. We have no excuse to say we don't have any heroes. We have no excuse to say we don't have any leaders. We have no excuse because we got grand inheritance from great ones such as this. And if we're looking for leadership, if we're looking for heroes, then they have to be produced. They have to become manifest. That's no other's responsibility but African souls themselves, African souls ourselves. So on this day, the 1st of January, 1804, Jean-Jacques Dessalines in Gonaïves said the following words, just in part, and then we'll have a little bit more of a conversation. Hold tight. And by the way, this quotation that I'm about to read is documented in, amongst other places, this important text, I highlight it, from Afrawika to Africa, Ukombozi Siku, the living observance of Africa Liberation Day. Highly recommended that is. That's actually one of my texts. So do get a hold of it if you can. 1804 then, Emperor Jean-Jacques Dessalines. He says, citizens, it is not enough to have expelled from your country the barbarian who has for ages stained it with blood. It is not enough to have curbed the factions which, succeeding each other by turn, sported a phantom of liberty, which the French exposed to their eyes. It has become necessary by a last act of national authority to ensure forever the empire of liberty in the country which has given us birth. It is necessary to deprive an inhuman government which has hitherto held our minds in a state of the most humiliating turpitude, of every hope of having enabled again to enslave us. Finally, it is necessary to live independent or die. Independence or death. Let these sacred words serve to rally us. Let them be signals of battle and of our reunion. Excuse me one moment. So those are the words then of Emperor Jean-Jacques Dessalines. Only a portion of. But that's enough to go on. That's enough as a cursory insight, just to give us some indication of the kind of hero that we're talking about. This candle needs lighting, so I'm going to take the time to do that. If they do go out, as I said before, I will try my best. We may be getting a little low on the matches, but Jean-Jacques Dessalines, a hero superb, as were those other heroes that were with him, as were those other warriors that were with him, as were those that came before him, as were those that came after him, as were those that he inspired throughout the generations. And I urge brothers and sisters, kaka and dada, that's the key Swahili words, brothers and sisters, to get to know our heroes, get to know our sheroes, get to know them in you. Because that's where they really are. That's where they are alive. That's where they live. That's where they reside. That's where they are energized and eternally continue to be. That's where they are. So as we awake in the morning, we rise with the sun, and especially for those that are able to see the sun. And we've got small pieces of the sun with us in the Mishuma Saba, or 7 candles. 7 pieces of sun to illuminate each of those values, give life and illumination to each of those values, give energy to each of those values, symbolically and within ourselves. As we rise in the morning with the sun, and we may wander to the mirror, look there to find the great ones that have been before us. Look there to find the ones that have elevated the African self beyond the clutches of others that mean the African ill. From whichever part of the world they may have emerged from, scurried from, crawled from. And in that even, a lot of articulation comes by way of describing others that mean us ill as being supreme. Well, the white supremacists are at it again. There is nothing supreme about them. Don't give credit where it's not due. It's the other way. There is a global force of inadequacy, not supremacy, inadequacy that rules. And if we know it's inadequate, we'll do something about it, won't we? We ought to. We should do. Surely we must. I digress. Oh no, it's all part of the same progression. Really is. Remember what faith is. Faith is to believe in all our heart in our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our fight. Some food for thought. There's some words I'd like to engage you with. If you be so bold, if you be so brave, if you be so forthright, let's see if we can get a little bit of interaction going from wherever you happen to be located. Kwanzaa is for real. What is Kwanzaa?
For real.
Kwanzaa is for real. Kwanzaa is for real. Help me with that. Kwanzaa is for real.
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 Our own greatness revealed.
Our own greatness revealed.
Kwanzaa values seal.
Kwanzaa values seal.
Our own nations yield.
Our own nations yield.
A few words to take away with you, to mull over, to reflect and project upon as we engage in wider reflection and projection during this time. Because it's a celebration of what has been and a projection onto what is to come. So we're celebrating the yield of the harvest from all year round effort as a people. All year round effort as parents. All year round effort as teachers. All year round effort as leaders. All year round effort for the righteousness and victory of our fight. All year round. That's what makes the celebration so powerful. Because it is a culmination of what we have done. And if we propel ourselves with what we have done so that we climb ever more upward and continue to grow ever more onwardly, progressively, fruitfully, bountifully, then each year global African ascendancy gains deeper and deeper and more progressive traction. That's the focus. African ascension. Herein then, we see with Jean-Jacques Dessalines, 1804, bringing the Haitian revolution to victorious fruition. It had been incepted by the Voodoo priest, African spiritual practitioner, Bookman Dutty. So it had the victory already mapped out. Victory was inevitable, but it took that hero and the other heroes in that sphere, in that line, to make spirit manifest, to make the unseen materialize, to make the metaphysical manifest in the physical realm. And because the unseen is the most potent part of African life, is the most profound and core aspect of African beingness, if we carry living knowingness of ourselves, then it means that we continue to live in the light that is shone by our great heroes and our great sheroes. You see Jean-Jacques Dessalines in Marcus Mosiah Garvey. You see Jean-Jacques Dessalines in Omowale Malcolm X. You see Jean-Jacques Dessalines in a Winnie Mandela. The spirit essence of that freedom fight, that freedom fighting warrior spirit continues to shine, continues to rise in us. And powerful it is. So let me share with you, if I can, some more reading. Let's see what we got here. Oops. This is another important text, highly recommended it is. It's another one of the texts that I've written. It's called From Pert and Min to Kwanzaa, the Creative or the Kuumba Creative Restoration of Sacred First Fruits, highly recommended. There's a section in there, page 38, with a section on Imani, on the theme of this day. It says, faith in the Supreme Being, faith in the great ancestors, and faith in the divine self are of paramount significance here. Examples of how faith in this regard has been brought to the fore of African life as this powerful and mighty people courageously engage in the mission of victory are many. One such example is the warrior queen Yasantiwa, whose utterances echo in the hearts of African people today as she took up the mantle to fight to free the African in a bold and forthright way. And this is what Yasantiwa had to say. Yasantiwa is a queen of the Ashanti people in West Africa and had to fight tooth and nail with the people in this island that we currently stand on, Britain, to secure liberty and nationhood in that part of the African world. She said this: "Now I have seen that some of you fear to go forward to fight for our king. If it were in the brave days of old, chiefs would not sit down to see their king taken away without firing a single shot. No white man could have dared to speak to the chiefs of the Ashanti in the way the governor spoke to you chiefs this morning. Is it true that the bravery of the Ashanti is no more? I cannot believe it. It cannot be. I must say this. If you, the men of the Ashanti, will not go forward, then we will. I shall call upon the fellow women. We will fight the white men. We will fight till the last of us falls in the battlefields." She made it clear that it's the role of the men to stand up. She's fighting for the king of the country. And as a call to African men, African manhood, it is important that the African man becomes an African man. We've all been afflicted with all kinds of horrors. Yes. We, in many ways, have been derailed, set aside from ourselves, coerced outside of ourselves to be something that we're not, to serve the best interests of others that mean us ill. That's what they've set out to do. But it is up to the African souls, ourselves, to restore our manhood, restore our womanhood, and know what those actually mean. The African man has his nature. The African woman has her nature. Nature being natural to the African man, nature being natural to the African woman. The African man is in no way the natural enemy of the African woman. The African woman is in no way the natural enemy of the African man. But they do have their own nature. And it's time to realize that, so that harmonious and complementary unions can be established, formed between the African man and the African woman. Not the toxicity, as it's so often called, so often described as being, that has been imposed and puppeteered by other people to serve their own interests, their own wrongdoing, their own ills, their own vices of ill. Africa must purge us. We must purge ourselves of that and carve away, cast aside foul debris. Build. We can do that. We must do that. Remember, Kwanzaa itself is a celebration of family, community, nation, and race. The African must build. So it pains me to hear and see such vile, horrid, sinister, sickening, twisted, self-destructive, foul words and deeds being hurled from African man to African woman in the name of being a man and in the name of being woman. When in reality, as the destructive ills are hurled one side to the next, those alien others sit by the wayside, rub their hands with glee, and continue to rob the African, strip the African of all resources. We need to see what it is that we are. We need to see what it is that we are to be. We need to see what it is that we have been. so we inform our future ascension. So as we leave this year of so-called 2020, dire, horrid circumstances, many African souls being imprisoned without walls, with so-called lockdown and other restrictions. Let us move with a wider purpose, a higher context within which to operate in. If we are professional or non-professional, learned in academia or not learned in academia, if we are well endowed with finances or we're not well endowed with finances, let us never forget who and what we are. Let us not cast the flag of liberty and nationhood aside for the select only. The select few only. It is for us all, as is the celebration that we are in, Kwanzaa, for us all. And though we may, at different stages in our lives, engage in a way that suits our dynamic or circumstance, fundamentals don't change. The African is an African, is an African, is an African. And the African must be free. The African must arise. The African must ascend. It's a divine imperative. So if you remember the few words that were uttered earlier, just to remind ones and ones, what are they? Kwanzaa is for real.
Kwanzaa is for real.
Our own greatness revealed.
Our own greatness revealed.
Kwanzaa values sealed.
Kwanzaa values sealed.
Our own nations yield.
Our own nations yield.
So with that, we're going to, how are we doing? Is that 1:15? Okay. So with that, we're going to go into the Tamshi La Tambiko. Excuse me, not the Tamshi La Tambiko, the Tamshi La Tutuanana. The Tamshi La Tutuanana is the farewell statement. And the Tamshi La Tambiko, which I mistakenly articulated before that, that is the energizer to open the gateway. That's the opening. That's the spiritual and cultural opening utterance. The Tamshi La Tambiko. And in spiritual and cultural modality, there is always an opening to energize the flow to come forth. Likewise, there is always a closing to allow closure of one chapter so that another chapter can be opened. And these are not absolutes. It's not shut down. It's conclusion until such time again. It's conclusion for this portion, for this element, for this time, for this segment, so that the next segment can ensue, can be brought to fruition. So in all you do, dare fight for freedom and sacrifice and gain strength that comes with this. Build where you are and dare leave a legacy that will last as long as the sun shines and the waters flow. Practice daily umoja, kujichagulia, ujima, ujama, nia, kuumba, and Imani. And may the wisdom of our great ancestors always walk with us. May the year's end meet us laughing and stronger. May our children honor us by following our example in love and the fight for freedom. And at the end of this year, may we sit again together in larger numbers with greater achievement and closer to liberty and the highest level of African life. Kimunga Ukumbozi. Kimunga Ukumbozi. Kimunga Ukumbozi. Divine liberty, divine liberation, divine freedom, and all that that will bring for African people wherever we happen to be on the face of this earth. Ones and ones, be blessed, stay strong, stay magnificent, stay beautiful, stay divine, stay all of those wonderful things until such time again. If you're new to Kwanzaa this year, then learn a little bit more so that by next year, the substance of your knowingness has become greater and more meaningful and grows year on year, cycle after cycle, for continual upliftment. We're going to close out with some drumming, some hand clapping, and you might want to just flex the self wherever you happen to be with us at that, or at this, I should say, at this juncture. So if we can just rhythmize ourselves now and energize ourselves with some rhythmic vibration to close us out. We are blessed with all 7 candles, all 7 of the Mishuma Saba, 7 candles blazing the trail for another year to come, to energize us with greater wealth, energize us with greater mission, energize us with greater building, energize us with greater organizing, energize us with greater African uplift. Energize us with our spiritual and cultural core being of self, so that we are victorious. And victory for African souls, if the African soul is him or herself, inevitable, unstoppable, undeniable, beautiful and magnificent, reflecting the superlative beauty and magnificence that each and every African soul has. The beauty within expressed outwardly to the full, each African soul to the next. Climb, rise, ascend until such time again. website www.u-ran.org. You can email info@u-ran.org.